Hi there, this is Magenta Pixie speaking. So this is an interesting question I received. I have not posted this on any social media. I actually saved this for a video. So the question I was asked is, Magenta, do you ever channel celebrities or famous people? So this is my response. Occasionally, yes, especially if I have shown an interest in their lives, but I rarely go public with their messages. The reasons for that are because the message is something about their life that's not in the public domain that they would want me to know. So the celebrity or the individual is telling me something that I would like to know or that they want me to know personally. They're not necessarily asking me to share that information. Sometimes they do. But usually, when I speak to individuals who are well known, the messages they give me are not something that would benefit humanity specifically. It's just for my own personal knowing. Now, often the well-known individuals or celebrities that come to me, they actually don't give me permission to go public with their information. The reason for this is usually because they know it would upset their families and their loved ones that are still in incarnation. They wouldn't want their family and loved ones to know that they came to talk to someone outside of the family that they didn't even know when they were in incarnation. So that's the most usual reason why I won't be given permission to go public with these connections. And I honour those boundaries. It's disrespectful in many cases to the families, and only if they specifically request that I go public with their information, then I would probably do so, but I would still consider whether I should, because even celebrities and famous people that have passed over to spirit don't always know what might be right for them and their path. So I would obviously consult with the nine before I went public with the information from a fourth dimensional spirit entity, which is what the form of a relative or a famous person would be. They would be fourth dimensional entities. They rarely ever ask me to go public, the individuals that come to me. Most of them have been very private in their lives. Despite being famous and well known, they're very private. And what you would see in the public eye is just part of their persona. The deep core of who they are is rarely actually shown to the public. So that's where I stand really with communication with celebrities and famous people. They will come to me and tell me things that occurred in their lives that are of personal interest to me, or something that they want to share with me. It's no different from talking to someone who's in incarnation. They just want to communicate. They see my light, that I am an open stargate for communication, if you will, so they come to talk to me. Now, sometimes I see these same individuals channeled by other people, and I know it's not the real individual that they're channeling because they haven't given permission for that. No one can channel a soul and go public with that information if they have not given permission. What they're connecting with is what is called a shade. It's like an astral copy of the individual. Sometimes if that soul lived a very humanitarian life and their contact benefits humanity, then they will give permission. Another reason I do not channel celebrities really very often is because I'm not a medium per se. I can do this, I can do mediumship, but it's not my mission in this life. It's a fourth dimensional connection. I've already lived an incarnation where I was a successful and well-known medium. In this life, I'm a channel and a conduit for the fifth dimension and above. So presenting as a medium for fourth dimensional souls is not my path in this incarnation. I would just like to say that when it comes to other mediums and other channels talking to celebrities, I am not talking about any one person out there. I have seen individuals communicate or say they're communicating with celebrities, and I know that they're not, because I've spoken to that particular celebrity and they haven't given permission. But I would never go public with it or even contact that particular medium or channel, because that's not my place to do so. So recently, I did watch a tribute on television to a well-known celebrity. This tribute was basically presenting their life story. And that night, the individual came to me. I was really surprised. I hadn't asked to speak to this individual, but they came to me to tell me more information about their life that was not in the documentary that I just watched. The reason for them coming to me is that I was genuinely engaged with the information about that person's life, and I held love and empathy and compassion for that individual and their life. They knew instinctively that they could trust me not to share what they were telling me privately. It's no different with the people you know and interact with all the time. It's the same with people in incarnation. If they come to you and they tell you something and ask you to respect that confidence, then you do that. If you don't do that, you are out of integrity. You create a negative karmic reaction. And it's no different with spirit. You honour their requests with integrity and trust in just the same way. So this is a really great question that someone asked me. Do I channel celebrities or famous people? Because it's led to quite a lot for me to talk about. And it was interesting that they asked this question around the time when I had actually just been speaking to this famous individual. So the shade. I want to explain what a shade is, because many channels and mediums think they're talking to the individual, but that individual hasn't given permission, so they are presented with a shade. Because if a medium is able to make connections with the fourth dimension, then they'll connect with something. Now, often an individual may come to that channel without them asking for that individual, and that is usually a genuine connection. But again, not always. Sometimes shades can turn up and be a trickster spirit, if you will. So you must use discernment whenever you listen to any channel or any medium, and that includes when you listen to me as well. So a shade. Well, a shade is an astral copy of a person, most especially a famous person. So it's like a complete copy. It does not hold the same substance, but it's up to the medium or the channel to recognize what they are communicating with. So a shade is like this copy. And if you will, it's floating around as a disconnected, soulless projection in the lower fourth dimensional realms, which is important. Shades can't reach the middle or upper levels of the fourth dimension, which is where a good-hearted, loving soul spirit will be residing within that form. They'll have aspects within the fifth dimension as well and beyond potentially, but within the fourth dimensional realm, it will be upper levels, not lower levels. The shade exists in the lower levels. So a good medium trained, a good channel trained, won't be connecting with these shades anyway, unless, of course, somehow that shade has been able to disguise itself, mask itself, and act as a trickster. So one must really know what they're doing when they enter into mediumship or channeling. So when it comes to this shade being an astral copy of a person, I can kind of liken that to when someone creates a copy account on social media and pretends to be someone else who is well known, usually to try and make money. So you've seen on Instagram and other social media accounts someone that looks as though it's that celebrity or that person. People have done this and created accounts pretending to be me. That's, if you will, a cyber shade. It's not the real person. And this is the kind of thing that occurs within the fourth dimensional realm. Now, some shades, especially when they are projections of a good, open-hearted, spiritual individual, they'll be less likely to be trickster energies. Often sometimes they'll come to you and say the soul that wanted to talk to you is unavailable, or the soul that you called upon is unavailable, and the shade will act as a substitute, and they will be fairly honest and reliable shades. You have to know the individual you're communicating with. But the majority of shades, what they will do, they're not obviously trying to make money, because that's not the currency used in the fourth dimension. What they want is energy. Now, if they can create enough energy, then they will hold more substance to their form, as they don't have a form. They're more like a shadow. And that shadow can be animated by attention given to it. So if you give attention to a shade and you communicate with the shade as if it were the actual person, you're giving them energy, and they can create more form and have more substance within the fourth dimension. So it's a two-way like-minded attraction. The medium or channel will need to learn something about their own work, the way they work, about discernment, and the shade will also be learning about what it is and what consciousness is from the perspective of that shade. Now, shades are not necessarily negative. Some of them are, but they're not the real person. And rarely will they tell you they're a shade, because sometimes they don't even know they're a shade. They think they are the real person, which is why mediums can communicate with these famous people and celebrities, or relatives even, because they do a really good job at presenting as if they're the real individual, because they think they are. But some shades, the higher, the ones that have higher intelligence, but are not necessarily higher vibrational, but hold more form because they've been given attention, they do know that they're not the person. And in very rare cases, they will tell you that they're a shade. Usually when they've come to you to say that they're there on behalf of the actual soul, because they, for some reason, divine timing, they couldn't make it, or because you need to learn how to communicate with a shade. I have done this, and the shades that I've communicated with are usually good, intelligent shades that will tell me that they're a shade. And the first time it happened, I didn't know I was with a shade, but I knew there was something different about this being, and that it was slightly different to the actual individual. And they told me they were a shade and explained to me what shades were. So I learned about shades from a shade itself and from the nine. So in very rare cases, they will tell you they're a shade. However, a spiritually connected channel or medium who is trained and has been trained well by their guidance system will know. They won't need to ask the shade or wait for the shade to tell them. They will know that they're a shade, and they will know when they are connecting with the genuine, actual individual. I always have confirmation when these souls come to me, as they tell me things I couldn't possibly know. So the famous individual celebrity that came to me recently told me many things about their life and filled in many blanks that was not in the documentary, showed me where the documentary had got things wrong, and spoke to me about what the truth of that was. And I will then go off and try to find some research to back up what the soul has told me. And if I find absolutely nothing, which hasn't happened yet, I would question that more. But usually I will get confirmation. I will find out something I didn't know, that I found out from the soul. And that's another confirmation that it's the actual soul. Although sometimes shades could do this, but it's very rare, because they're not able to hold the intelligence and the memory of something deeply personal to the actual soul. So there are ways that mediums and channels can learn all this etiquette And the best way to learn that is for their guidance system to show them and teach them as they traverse those non-physical dimensions. So yes, this was a interesting question. Do I ever channel celebrities or famous people? And my reply to that is occasionally yes, but most of the time I don't go public with that. Okay, so thank you to the person who asked this question, and thank you everyone for listening.